This is our Joseph Myatt Reserve, which is typically the best red blend of any one vintage. Over the course of the last 15 years, we've identified the best areas in our vineyard, the areas that produce the best fruit, and we typically prune those areas back a little bit harder and reduce the crop load even more. We're really aiming for the best grapes we can possibly produce from these very specific areas in the vineyard, and those grapes are always treated a little differently to the other grapes. They're the parcels that have the potential to be the Joseph Myatt. Of course, this changes year to year depending on the season. In 2008, the Joseph Myatt Reserve was a Cabernet Shiraz blend. The Cabernet coming from our Bickley Valley vineyard and the Shiraz coming from the Volmer vineyard round in Carmel Valley. Joseph Myatt was the founder of the original Myatt's field, the original family farm in Camberwell, London. Camberwell, of course, was subsequently engulfed by London. The family had to move out to Kent and Gloucestershire, but Joseph was always the driver behind the family business and very successful in the produce that he produced. So this wine really commemorates his pioneering spirit and the original beginnings of the Myatt's field horticultural history. We never preempt the blend for the Joseph Myatt in any given year. There is literally a day in November where we get a glass of wine from every barrel in the entire building and we line them up on a table and we sit there for hours on end tasting the wine, trying to find the best parcels and the best blended wine to create the Joseph Myatt Reserve. In 2008 it's a Cabernet Shiraz, the Cabernet from our Bickley Valley vineyard and the Shiraz from the Volmer vineyard in Carmel. In addition to selecting the best parcels of fruit for the Joseph Myatt Reserve, we're also very keen on fractionalising here at Myatt's Field. This is where we take the free-run juice, the light pressings, the heavy pressings and the very heavy pressings, and we separate all three fractions from one ferment because we feel that these fractions have different attributes and some of them can be regarded as better parcels than other parcels. The Joseph Myatt Reserve is typically a mixture of the heavy pressings and the light pressings. We find those two fractions are typically the best portions to work with. The Joseph Myatt Reserve is of course the best red blend of any one vintage, but the best red blend can be quite a subjective decision in the end, and I'm not pretending for a second that there's always consensus amongst the winemaking team at Myatt's Field. That one day in November where we are putting the Joseph Myatt blend together can be a very long day, full of plenty of conjecture and arguments, but it's really our responsibility to ensure that one, the wine is up to scratch, and two, pays tribute to the Joseph Myatt Reserve blends that have come before it. And if that means not releasing a Joseph Myatt in any one year because it's not up to scratch, then that is what will happen. Once we've identified these best parcels of fruit, once we've identified the best fractions of juice, the next step is to use the best oak possible, and those fractions that show potential for the Joseph Myatt Reserve will always be put into 100% new French oak hogsheads, and they'll be aged in these hogsheads for a minimum of 18 months before blending and bottling. Once we've actually got the Joseph Myatt Reserve to bottle, we give the wine a year in bottle before release, just to make sure that all those structural elements have settled down and the wine itself has grown into itself. In terms of cellaring potential, this wine has a great concentration of oak tannins, of fruit tannins. It has good acidity, it has all the structural components in place, and it should really reward long-term cellaring. I'm talking 10 years plus. On the nose, we typically see some lovely intense, deep briar, mulberry kind of flavours. There's some lovely charry, smoky oak characters. On the palate, it's a rich, structured palate with very firm tannins, but not tannins that are aggressive or grippy, quite velvety or suede in their structures. And some lovely deep mulberry, plum and briar sort of characters on the palate. Because the Joseph Myatt Reserve is a very structural, firm, dry red, of course it can handle very heavy dishes. So your traditional pot roasts, a nice hearty steak, anything full of flavour is a perfect match for the Joseph Myatt Reserve.